Well, welcome everybody. It is truly such a joy and a pleasure to get to share energy with you here inside the EFI community. And I want to thank you for choosing to spend your time here in this way today. For those of you who are new faces, welcome. I would love to give you a big hug. That's if we were meeting in person, that's what you'd be receiving. Everyone would be. So know that I'm extending that energy. My name is Kelsey Corey. I'm an emotional fitness coach and I'm the founder of Energy for Impact. And so this space here, the EFI Gym, it's a true joy to be able to bring this and share this community with you. It's a place where we have a range of different modalities and tools, all designed to really help you process the emotional charge that comes along with our experiences of life. And we do that by offering a range of classes that include breath work, EFT tapping, meditation, mindful movement that is yoga and Pilates based and inspired. We have sound healing and more. So all of these sessions help you to increase your emotional fitness. And the goal of it is to feel proud of how you are experiencing life, experiencing your emotions, and really practicing that emotional regulation, which is coming into alignment with who and how you're wanting to be in the world. And so tonight's session I'm really excited about, because it is where we are welcoming our newest instructor, Coach D, and getting the opportunity to explore the magic of journaling. Now, this is a modality that I have really come to lean upon to support me, particularly during the last year. And so getting to experience it from the intention setting perspective under the beautiful power and potency of this new moon feels really special to share with you all. And for those of you who will be meeting Coach D for the first time, well, you are in for a treat, my friends. Dee and I met. She was one of the co-coaches in my NLP training, and her gentle, grounding and gracious energy was like an instant. I was like a moth to a flame kind of thing. I just felt so drawn and connected to Dee. And then when I learned that as an NLP mindset and spirituality coach, that Dee really loves to integrate journaling into her sessions and into her coaching, I knew that, okay, I want to collaborate with her. I want to be able to invite her into this space so that she can share her passion and practice with this community. So this is going to be the first of many new moon intention setting journaling sessions we have. Say that fast 5 times with me, okay? New moon intention setting journaling session. So we are going to have one of these each month in alignment with the new moon. So if it is a practice that you enjoy, please know that then it's something you could be scheduling into your calendar as a way to be showing up and supporting yourself each month, and really setting and living from that place of intention and choosing where your attention is going to go in order to create the life that you want to live. Okay, with all of that shared, I just want to again extend a thank you and a gratitude for having you be a part of this experience. I'm really grateful that I get to benefit and be a part of it as well. And with all of that shared, I'm going to hand it over to you, Coach D.
Thank you for that intro. Greetings, everyone. Let me share my screen. Welcome. I'm so excited to be here and to be sharing this space with you all. I love like new moon circles and meeting with people and processing together, just sharing space together as we process like individually. So happy to be here. And this is our new moon intention setting, and I am Coach D. A little bit about me for those who are meeting me for the first time. I help you make peace with the past and consciously create your future. So what I mean by that is we're living, things are happening, and some things along the way leave a mark. And if we go back and make peace with it, we can move forward. And so I love doing new moon journaling sessions, and I do it on a new and full moon personally, because they're natural stopping points where I can stop and reflect. So glad to be here with you all. I am an NLP mindset and spirituality coach, and I also have a background, a master's in mental health counseling. And so what Kelsey was saying about emotional regulation and being proud of our emotions and tuning in and tapping into them and really using them to help us navigate life, rather than suppressing, avoiding, acting like nothing is happening, because life has some challenges. That's what this is all about, like making sure we acknowledge things that have happened, we acknowledge things as they come, and we just press pause. So that's really what this is all about. All right, so to ground ourselves in the space, I always like to do box breathing. And so box breathing is this for me comes up because my parents were both in the military, and when I was learning about, y'all have breath work sessions, this is like a quick type of breath work. And so just to get grounded in the space, because we're all coming here from doing whatever we were doing today and we're transitioning, we'll do some box breaths. We'll do 3 rounds. And the way that this works is you inhale through your nostrils for a count of 4, and I'll count us, and then you hold it for 4 counts, release through your mouth for 4 counts, and then hold it again. And this helps to reduce stress and is a way that we'll ground into the space before just jumping in and doing that thing, because we're coming, we want to honor and acknowledge that we just had a whole day, and that we're switching over. All right, so get into a comfortable position, and I'll count. All right, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, release, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, release, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, release, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. All right. Welcome to the space. Let's get started. All right. Tonight, we're going to be doing some intention setting and some reflecting. And before we get started with jumping into the journal prompts, I'll just give an overview of new moon journaling. So again, I use the moon cycle for personal development. I'm not an astrologist. I check and I pay attention to like the energy surrounding the moon, but I'm not an astrologist. I don't claim that. I use it for personal development and as reminders. So some of the benefits, it helps you develop a rhythm because there's a new moon and a full moon in every month, and sometimes there are 2. So it's just a reminder for me because I'm already consuming content where people talk about the new moon and full moon. So it helps me to develop a rhythm. You also get to tune into nature because whether we pay attention or not, we are impacted by the things that happen around us with nature. So it's also a way that you can get grounded, and you can tap into the astrological energy if that's something you're into. I'll always bring that in because I look up and say, like, which sign is it in and how does that impact the collective? But if that's not what you're into, this is also a personal development practice. And it's also fun because you can learn new things. Like tomorrow is a Ring of Fire solar eclipse. So when that stuff is happening, I'm like, oh, what does that mean? And I looked it up, and I'm trying to see, my thing is kind of tiny. So when the moon crosses paths with the sun, it will look smaller than the sun, leaving room for a bright light to glow around the edges. And it's called the Ring of Fire. So sometimes there are really cool things going on that you can learn about. So those are some of the benefits of using the moon cycle for personal development. And specifically new moon energy, because again, I check in at the new moon and the full moon because that's how I do it. But here in EFI Gym, I think because we are very intentional and set intentions to help us move forward each month, it's awesome that we're tapping in and checking in on the new moon, because the new moon is a time for new beginnings. It symbolizes a second chance or a rebirth. If you look at the picture I have up here, the moon cycle, we have the full moon. And then when the new moon is here, it's completely blacked out. And so it's like a new beginning. It's the start of a new moon cycle. And that same energy can be said for us. So this is a sacred space to check in with your soul, review your progress towards your goals, and plan your next moves using the power of clear intent. Before I started journaling, period, and before I started making sure I was checking in with myself multiple times a month, I would go years and just live and keep, setting goals, achieving goals, but like I would go a very long time without checking in with myself. So this is a technique or strategy, a way that, again, you can create a rhythm and make sure you're consistently checking in with yourself instead of letting a lot of time go by without paying attention to what's going on with you and like tuning in. So this new moon, it is tomorrow. at 6:52 a.m. EST. Energy around the new moon, I always say it starts a few days before and up to 3 days after you can still catch it. So I don't want people to be like, I must do it at 6:52 tomorrow morning. It's like, no, calm down. As long as you do it sometime around when that new moon starts and get that rhythm going, you'll be fine. This time the sign is Gemini. I had to look this up because I'm a Scorpio. I don't know too much about Geminis. I have Gemini friends. They're very fun. But when I did some research, the energy of Gemini that is kind of flowing through with this new moon, thinkers, they are very much thinkers, and they go into like worry spirals, which the reason why I'm very much interested in the astrological positioning is because those themes and those patterns of whatever sign it is show up for me. So sometimes my friends will call me and they're like, yo, I'm having this issue. I'm like, yeah, that's very much in alignment with the energy of this new moon. So if you've been having some worry spirals, it's okay. Communication, particularly taking a closer look at how we ebb and flow with conversations. But tonight I want you to focus on the conversation you're having with yourself. So we're going to be talking about stories that we're telling ourselves. So communication is a theme, and paying attention to the stories that you are telling yourself, getting more comfortable with uncertainty, and taking big changes one slow step at a time. I know we want to go full force, but the energy of Gemini is reminding us that big changes take time. And if you just take it one slow step at a time, you'll be all right. But uncertainty can be uncomfortable. And sometimes you might have to go backwards, which we'll be doing temporarily and doing it strategically in order to move forward. So checking in with yourself, saying, what stories am I telling myself that may be keeping me in the past? And how can I tell a more empowering story so that as I navigate through this uncertainty, as I make these small steps to move forward, I'm empowering versus disempowering myself with the stories and how I'm communicating to myself. And they're also known as crisis points, not to be like a terrible crisis, just like, oh, this is a big moment and there's opportunity for breakthroughs and big changes. So crisis does not always have to be terrible, but there is opportunity right now for breakthroughs and big changes. So that's why I like to pause and tune into the energy and check, like, if that's the energy of Gemini, that's what's been showing up for me. So tonight's theme is rewriting your story, because again, we're focusing on communication and particularly how are we communicating with ourselves. The goal of these prompts that I've created is to help you shift from a disempowered victim stance to a powerful creator. It'll make even more sense in a second. All right, so we've created two options for you because I understand some people can feel constrained if I'm like, okay, 10 minutes for this, 10 minutes for that, and you would rather just have a block of time. So I will share the journal prompts, and there are two options you can do. You can be guided through each question, where I will share the question, give a little bit of an overview of like, what was I thinking when I came up with this question? And then we'll take 10 minutes for you to process that and then move along and do that for each of the three journal prompts. Or you can put the call on mute, and I'll have a little bit of music playing for those 10 minutes. Or you can choose option 2, put the call on mute and do it at your own pace. You just have a chunk of 30 minutes and you can move through it as you want and return after the 30 minutes. I put 8:40, it'll probably be closer to 8:45 now based on the timing. So you can choose what you would like. You can share in the chat which one works best for you. Either is fine. All right. So again, tonight's theme is rewriting your story. And I want to preface it with this before we break off based on whether you chose option 1 or 2. If it's bubbling to the surface, it's ready to be released. So I'm not talking about bypassing. And bypassing, sometimes people have not done any work, have not reflected on a certain topic, and they just want to say, oh, I'm going to write it out and that'll fix it all. No, I'm talking about what themes are naturally like coming to mind, whether it's around money stories, some story, because for me, the past couple of days, like there have been like very clear patterns in what story is bubbling to the surface. And when that happens around a full or new moon, I'm like, okay, that's the one that I'm going to focus on. So the stories that I'm talking about tonight, these are stories that are complete. Like they might not be completely finished and wrapped up. You're very close to wrapping up and finding the end of this story. And you shifted your beliefs around this area. but they're still kind of bubbling up and you're getting pulled back into the past to when it first started or when you were halfway through the story. So I'm talking about these stories that you are almost at the end, you have greater insight into what was even contributing to something, but you're still getting pulled back. You've taken different actions and you may not be finished, but you're well on your way to like wrapping up this chapter. And so the intended outcome is to help you release the attachment to the story itself and shift the narrative. Because right now you keep getting pulled back and the stories that I'm referring to trigger negative emotions around like shame, guilt, some kind of negative core emotion is coming up when you go back. And it's because you're telling yourself like a victim, a story from like a victim stance. And there's two outcomes that I'm hoping will be accomplished when you rewrite your story. One, you're going to release your attachment to the old story and shift the narrative. And then you're also going to release your attachment to the energy of the emotion that's coming up with that story. So the story that you're telling yourself now about whatever you're about to journal about is reinforcing a belief that's no longer true about you because you have taken different actions. So example, if you had a money story and you're thinking back to when you were younger, I don't know everybody's age, so just like when you were younger and maybe some money mistakes you made, but over time you've learned lessons. You may still be coming out of that, but you're no longer the same, but you keep going back and telling yourself a disempowering narrative. So that's one example. It could be a money story. It could be about relationships, whatever is bubbling to the surface. Again, you want to honor the changes that you've made and acknowledge that that narrative is no longer true about you. All right, so these are our journal prompts for the day. Ooh. Need to go back so it doesn't play the music yet. One second. All right, there we go. All right, so there will be 3 prompts. Again, you can choose which option you want. But first, you're going to release attachment to the old story. So identify 1 or 2 stories that are running on repeat right now that trigger some negative emotions. And usually you can tell if you're positioning yourself as a victim. And now you want to shift for number 2 to an empowering perspective. So think about a way, once you get, because you want to acknowledge the energy and emotions you're feeling right now. So that's why you journal and get it out and be honest with yourself with that story. Then you want to shift and think about, well, what am I leaving out? Now that I'm on kind of the other side, may not be finished, but now that I'm further into this story and I'm almost done, what parts am I leaving out? Because you might be leaving out all the things you did to, one, disrupt that pattern that was playing out in your life. What actions did you take to learn new beliefs? If you didn't know and you made mistakes, what do you now know? And what did you do to learn that? You took courses or you joined the EFI Gym. You're doing things you weren't doing before. But a lot of times we forget to acknowledge all the work that it took to become this version, just because we're not finished all the way. Or even if you're finished, you just keep telling the old story. So that's what number 2 is. Tell yourself a new empowering story that you will then start to replace the old one with, because now you have something to challenge it. And then 3, because it's a new moon, new beginnings, this is kind of intention setting, plan for the future. How will you close out this chapter? Pay attention, because there's something I'm wrapping up this month and I'm still like not telling myself it's about to be done on the 30th. And so really just say, how are you closing out this chapter? What actions are you going to take to wrap up any loose ends? And how does this story end with you being victorious? Because you are victorious, especially if you're here and you're doing this type of work. You are victorious. So those are the new moon journal prompts. And we'll head into the first one. If you want to do option 1 and just do a big chunk, go ahead and put me on mute. And if you are participating and following along with the timer, we will get started. I gave the overview basically. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat and we'll get started with number 1. Apologies, this embedded video is not working. So I'll keep the time and I'll put some music on in 1 second. All right, you have about 2 minutes left for this prompt. Okay. And just kind of wrapping that up, and we're shifting into number 2, where you're going to shift your perspective. If you notice any themes coming up, because I was like, oh, I'm telling myself some really sad stuff, but a theme that was popping up between both the stories was, I'm not worthy of love, or I'm not worthy of having the grace and space to make mistakes and then grow. So those were themes that were popping up for me. If you notice any themes, definitely highlight that. And then now we're going to shift to an empowering narrative. Challenge those thoughts. All right, so we got 10 minutes. All right, you have about 2 minutes left for this prompt. All right, so we're transitioning to number 3, where you're planning for the future. So remember, you're worthy of love. It's okay to make mistakes, to learn and grow, and everything that's come before has already happened. So now you're shifting into a powerful creator who uses their mental energy to grow, someone who uses their mental energy to create a new world. So these things that are coming don't happen by magic, but it's by choice. And so you're going to focus on taking the next right step. Remember, Gemini is next right step, small steps. So if you do that every day, you're going to achieve your goals. So plan for the future. How are you going to close out the chapter of this story? Wrap up any loose ends? And how does this story end with you being victorious? All right, you have about 2 minutes left for this one. All right, so go ahead and wrap up. All right, you did a great job tonight. Again, if you want to chew in even more, feel free to revisit these. Give yourself a lot of space and time tomorrow. And so keep in touch. You can follow me on Instagram, and I will be here every new moon. So this concludes our journaling session. So you can feel free if you need to leave, but we also have 10 minutes built in for people to share if you want to kind of chat or ask any questions and just process after that solo time. So we'll stop the recording here.